In the Belgorod region of Russia, the combat operation of the Ukrainian military has been going on for more than a month. During this time, the armed forces of Ukraine took control of the border sanitary strip near the villages of Popovka and Demidovka, inflicted significant losses on Russian troops, and the operation entered the phase of positional defense. The combat operations are being carried out by the 225th Assault Regiment of the Ukrainian Armed Forces together with attached units, including the 33rd Assault Regiment, formed by the Rifle Battalion of the Air Force, and the 414th Tahi Madyara Brigade. Journalist Yuri Butusov reported on his Telegram channel. According to him, the raid was initially planned as a surprise attack to inflict significant losses on the enemy and divert its forces in the direction of the Russian offensive on Guevo and Gornal. The task, according to Butusov, was successfully completed. The operation has entered a phase of positional defense in the forested area along Russian defense lines and Dragon's Teeth fortifications. Ukrainian troops are operating in small infantry groups and using drones with active support from artillery, aviation and precision missiles. The Russian command, according to the journalist, has transferred significant forces to the combat zone, in particular the 34th and 128th Motorized Rifle Brigades, the 83rd Motorized Rifle Regiment, the Akhmat Special Forces, the 155th Marine Brigade Battalion, the Espanola units and the FSB units. Butusov noted that Russian troops suffered serious losses. The 128th Brigade and the battalion of the 155th Brigade were withdrawn for reinforcement. According to the 414th Brigade alone, Ukrainian pilots destroyed more than 100 enemy armored vehicles. He also emphasized that the loss ratio is now significantly in favor of the Ukrainian side, and elite units of the Russian Federation, in particular Akhmat and Espanola, were unable to complete the tasks assigned to them. The journalist called for all participants in this operation to be awarded state awards and stressed that every successful military action must be completed on time, given that the main objectives of the raid have already been completed.
The fighters of the Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine continue to successfully carry out tasks in the Kursk region of Russia. As reported by the Special Operations Forces, only on Saturday, April 26, a group from the 73rd Center in Kursk region destroyed an entire group of servicemen from the 810th Marine Brigade of the Russian Armed Forces during special operations. As a result, the Special Operations Forces operators also forced 2 enemy soldiers to surrender. The Special Operations Forces soldiers evacuated 1 prisoner of war to a safe place on a stretcher, while the other hobbled along on his own, the report says. At the same time, Special Operations Forces showed a video of the fighters working. While Chief of the Russian General Staff Gerasimov reports on the liberation of Kursk Oblast from Ukraine's security and defense forces, operators of the 73rd Center of the Special Operations Forces continue to successfully complete missions in this region. Just yesterday, a group from the 73rd Special Operations Forces Center wiped out an entire enemy group during special actions in Kursk Oblast. The mission continues, the report says. On April 26, Kremlin leader Vladimir Putin was informed that the last settlement in Kursk Oblast, Gornal, had allegedly been liberated from Ukrainian forces. Reports indicating that hostilities in Russia's Kursk Oblast have ended are untrue, the Ukrainian Armed Forces General Staff has stated. The Ukrainian Defense Forces continue their defensive operation in designated areas of Kursk Oblast. The operational situation remains difficult, but our units are holding their positions and carrying out their assigned tasks, inflicting effective fire on the enemy with all types of weapons and employing active defense tactics. 5 enemy assaults have been repelled in the Kursk operational area since the beginning of the day, with another engagement currently underway.
Ukrainian sources report that the Ukrainian military political leadership has set a new task for the Ukrainian armed forces to capture Russian regions. This task is as follows: to hold the border territory of the Kursk and Belgorod regions until at least the end of April, and at most until the period following May the 9th. What are these dates determined by? The first is related to Trump's promises to achieve peace within 100 days of his presidency. Trump's first presidential 100 days expire on April the 30th. Russian media says that Ukraine wants to ensure that if some agreement is actually signed by that time, it could be declared that it was not the Russian army that drove the Ukrainian armed forces out of the Kursk and Belgorod regions, but that they themselves left there. Even though at the moment we are talking about a total of approximately 24 square kilometers of territory in the two regions. The second date is, of course, connected with the 80th anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory in the Great Patriotic War. And on that day, a military parade will be held in Moscow, attended by leaders of a number of foreign states, including the leader of NATO and EU member Slovakia. Russian media says that Zelenski's team, which is trying to organize a get-together in Kiev with actual proof of ignoring the results of World War II and the decisions of the Nuremberg Tribunal, will organize a PR campaign on that day on the fact that the Ukrainian armed forces are still present on the recognized territory of the Russian Federation. The fighting is taking place within the boundaries of the settlements of Gornal and Oleshnya in the Kursk region. In Gornal, the Ukrainian armed forces are trying to hold on to the heights that run along the northern bank of the Psel River. Ukraine fully controls any of these villages. Recently, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said for the first time that Ukrainian forces are operating in the southwestern Russia's Belgorod region. Belgorod, which borders Ukraine, is regularly targeted by Ukrainian airstrikes and lies near Russia's Kursk region, where Kyiv launched a surprise incursion last year and has since fought to maintain a foothold. It is the first time since Russia's full-scale invasion more than 3 years ago that Zelensky has explicitly acknowledged Ukrainian operations in Belgorod, a region with a population of about 1.5 million.